Do you know that your frying pan can quietly harm you? It's hard to believe, I know, but that's the fact. A tool you trust every morning to fry an egg or sear a steak might be delivering more than heat. Under certain conditions, it can release fumes, shed particles, or leach metals into your food, subtle, invisible, and rarely mentioned in cooking shows. Yet it happens. Still, the pan remains the heart of the kitchen, that familiar sound of oil meeting metal, the smell of breakfast starting right. We want to protect that image, the tool, not the threat. We want to keep frying with a light mind, not a worried one. In this video, we'll walk you through 5 frying pans to avoid at all costs, and then show you 2 honest ones that bring back safety and flavor without losing the sizzle. Stay with us until the end. You may see your kitchen in a whole new light. 1. Non-stick pans. For decades, non-stick pans have been sold as the answer to every messy breakfast. They promise no scrubbing, no sticking, no trouble. But beneath that easy glide lies a coating that behaves very differently when it meets real heat and time. At first, it works beautifully. The eggs dance, the pancakes flip without a trace. The cleanup feels like magic. But as scratches appear and the surface dulls, something subtle begins to change. Each scrape from a metal spatula, each forgotten preheat on high flame weakens the very layer that made it non-stick in the first place. What once kept food from clinging now starts to break apart. Not in chunks you can see, but in particles too fine for your eye to catch. Crucially, those coatings, usually made of a plastic-like material called PTFE, were never meant to face endless punishment. When overheated beyond roughly 500 degrees Fahrenheit, they start to decompose. You may not notice it at first. There's no fire, no warning sign, just a faint chemical smell that feels out of place in a morning kitchen. Yet those fumes can irritate your lungs, trigger headaches, and in rare cases even harm small pets like birds whose tiny airways can't handle those invisible gases. Even so, the problem isn't limited to fumes. Over time, flakes and dust from worn-out coatings can slip into your food. Scientists have found that a single damaged non-stick pan can shed tens of thousands of tiny plastic fragments during cooking. They pass through your body without fanfare, but that doesn't make them harmless. In large amounts, microplastics add to the growing waste that already finds its way into water and soil. In practice, most people don't realize their pan has reached that stage until it's far gone. The coating still looks black, maybe a little gray at the center, maybe a few white lines where the oil doesn't spread evenly anymore. But that's the sign the surface of trust has cracked. No amount of oil or lower heat can undo that. Once the smooth layer becomes patchy, every new use deepens the wear. As a result, experts now suggest treating cheap non-stick pans as short-term tools, not lifetime companions. Keep the heat low to medium, never preheat an empty pan, and retire it as soon as scratches appear. It's a matter of simple hygiene, not luxury. A good rule: if it smokes before the food hits it, or if the surface feels rough to the touch, it's time to let it go. And yet it's not all bad news. Newer generations of coated pans are improving with better temperature limits and stricter safety standards. But the truth remains, non-stick convenience has a limit, and it lies right between comfort and carelessness. Cooking should be easy, but not at the expense of health. That thin black layer made mornings simpler until we learned what it hides under stress. If it scars or smokes, it goes. Because the pan that serves you daily deserves the same respect you give your food. 2. Uncoated aluminum with acid salt. The sauce was perfect until it wasn't. Steam filled the kitchen, curling through the warm evening air. Elaine, a retired teacher in Ohio, leaned over her small pot of tomato sauce, humming to the sound of slow bubbles. She had cooked this recipe for 40 years: onions first, a dash of salt, a spoon of sugar to calm the tang. It smelled like every family dinner she'd ever made. But halfway through the simmer, something changed. The smell sharpened. The spoon came out with a faint gray stain. And the sauce that once tasted bright and lively, carried a dull, bitter edge. I thought it was the garlic, Elaine said later, but it tasted like I'd dropped a spoon in a battery. What she didn't know that night was that the culprit wasn't her recipe, it was the pan itself. The same old aluminum pot that had survived countless meals had finally started giving some of itself away. When acid meets aluminum, a quiet exchange begins. Tomato vinegar, wine, lemon. All those ingredients that make food vivid slowly react with the metal. Ion by ion, the pan starts to dissolve into the sauce. You don't see it happening, but you might taste it, a metallic aftertaste that coats the tongue, a faint gray sheen where the spoon stirs a color just a shade darker than usual. Meanwhile, scientists and food regulators have studied this for decades. Both American and European agencies warn that long acidic cooking in uncoated aluminum can raise metal levels in food to measurable amounts, especially if simmered for more than 2 hours. Newer pans often form a thin protective oxide layer, but that layer weakens with scrubbing and time. Once it's gone, the reaction starts faster every time you cook something sour or salty. By contrast, that doesn't mean aluminum itself is evil. The human body naturally filters small traces, and for quick frying or boiling plain water, the risk stays low. The problem begins when heat, acid, and age combine exactly the way most family recipes do. It's less a matter of danger than of erosion. You lose flavor confidence and slowly the tool you trusted. For that reason, experts now suggest switching to coated anodized or stainless alternatives when cooking anything acidic. Stainless steel holds flavor steady and never leaves that dry metal taste. Even cast iron, when well seasoned, does better with tomato and lemon than raw aluminum ever could. Elaine, after learning the science, replaced her pan with a modest stainless one from the local market. The next week, she made the same sauce again, and it tasted exactly as it used to. In the end, it's not about fear. It's about attention. Kitchen habits grow old just like tools, and sometimes both need renewal. Aluminum gave us light, quick cookware, but not every material ages gracefully under heat and acid. So if your sauce starts tasting strange, don't blame the recipe. Maybe it's time to look at the pot instead. Keep the sauce, change the pan. 3 ceramic nonstick Sol-Gel pans. It looks like porcelain, sounds like quality, and feels safe, but the story beneath that shine is thinner than you think. For years, ceramic pans have been the darling of clean cooking. They look pure soft whites, gentle pastels, smooth as glass. The promise seems unshakable. No chemicals, no fumes, just modern beauty with a healthy soul. But the truth is quieter and far less glamorous. Most of these so-called ceramic pans aren't ceramic at all. They're made from a thin Sol-Gel layer, a kind of glass-based coating sprayed onto metal, cured in heat, then boxed and branded as eco-friendly. At first, it's a dream. Eggs slip away like silk pancakes lift without a mark, and oil seems almost unnecessary. Still, within a few months, the surface dulls. The once snowy shine turns chalky. The center loses its slip, and you find yourself scraping again, wondering how something so pure could fade so fast. Beyond that, the problem isn't only aesthetic. Sol-Gel coatings don't bond like real fired ceramic. They live shorter lives, especially when faced with high heat, harsh scrubbing, or sudden temperature change. Over time, the layer becomes brittle and can flake, harmless to most people, but disappointing to anyone who thought they were buying forever. Marjorie, a grandmother from Texas, knows that feeling. When I bought the white one, it felt like hope, she laughs. But after half a year, it looked like a snowfield after rain, cracked and dull. I went back to my old cast iron. That disappointment is common. Many households bought these pans believing they had escaped the plastic era. Marketing helped, brands used words like natural and non-toxic, implying something earthy and eternal. In plain terms, the coating is still a form of synthetic glass, safer, yes, but not invincible. And safety, to be clear, isn't the real issue here. The worn coating rarely poses harm, but it does break trust. You start to question every promise printed on a box: green, clean, forever, non-stick. Those words sell comfort, not longevity. Experts note that real ceramic cookware, the kind fired in a kiln, behaves very differently. It's heavier, pricier, and not meant for quick flips or fast heat. What fills today's aisles is an imitation made for convenience, not endurance. The Sol-Gel finish gives you 6 months of pleasure before nature takes its course. On balance, this is a gentle betrayal, not of safety, but of expectation. The coating that looked like purity was simply performance wrapped in aesthetics. It doesn't poison you. It just leaves you with another scratched surface, another lesson in marketing. In the end, maybe that's the truth of modern cookware. Everything promises ease, but few survive our daily habits. So when a pan looks too perfect, remember the shine might be borrowed time. If slickness fades fast, honesty did too. 4 titanium diamond granite hybrid nonstick. You pick it up, feel the weight, see the word titanium shining, and think finally a pan that lasts. The shelf glows under supermarket light. Boxes shout, diamond strong, granite tough, titanium reinforced. Every one of them promises endurance. The colors look rich, the handles feel solid, and the price sits just high enough to suggest quality. But peel away the glitter, and the truth is far less heroic. Most of these so-called hybrids are still the same old non-stick at heart. A thin layer of PTFE or sol gel coating sprinkled with metallic or mineral dust for looks and marketing flair. At first they deliver exactly what they promise. Food glides, steaks sear evenly, cleanup is quick. For a few months, everything feels premium. Then the decline begins. The shimmer dulls, the center darkens, and that familiar drag returns a tiny pause as the egg hesitates before sliding off. By the time you notice the sparkle has faded, the coating beneath it is already tired. That said, this failure isn't accidental, it's engineered within limits. The particles mixed into these coatings don't make them indestructible, they make them believable. Reinforcements like titanium or diamond stiffen texture just enough to feel different to the touch, but do little to extend life under high heat. Tests show these pans often lose half their non-stick ability within a year, performing nearly identical to standard mid-tier ones. In effect, the strength isn't in the pan, it's in the language. Words like granite and titanium trigger a quiet trust in the buyer's mind. They sound permanent, elemental, unbreakable, a promise of durability in a disposable world. And that psychological pull is exactly what the industry depends on. At scale, this isn't just clever marketing, it's a business model. Creating an entirely new pan from alloy to coating to mold costs millions. But redesigning a box, inventing a buzzword, and adding a shimmer powder to the coating costs pennies. Each new generation keeps shelves fresh and customers curious. Retailers call it innovation. Accountants call it margin preservation. It's the same system that repackages cereal shampoo and detergent every few years, not because formulas change, but because attention does. Meanwhile, we keep playing our part. The average consumer replaces a non-stick pan every 2 to 3 years. Some do it from habit, others from hope. I knew it wasn't really diamond, says Linda from Chicago, laughing, but it just felt safer, like I was buying something built to last. 6 months later, she emailed the brand after her stone coating chipped first. The company offered a discount on the next model, one labeled Titanium Pro. To that end, this loop benefits everyone except the buyer's wallet. Manufacturers enjoy repeat sales, retailers get shiny displays, and consumers feel reassured temporarily. It's a cycle powered by language more than science, by the desire to believe that this time maybe the pan will outlast disappointment. After all, cookware is emotional, it's about routine comfort, a sense of control. The words on a box whisper you're choosing better this time. And in a world where so much feels uncertain, that's an easy promise to buy. But the truth remains steady. Minerals don't make a miracle, and sparkle doesn't make strength. These pans will perform briefly, beautifully, and predictably. Then they'll fade into the same drawer as the ones they replaced. So the next time you reach for a diamond tough or titanium-infused label, pause. Look beyond the shine, because the sparkle is temporary, but the cycle keeps spinning until someone decides to stop. Read substance, not sparkle, and you'll break the cycle, not the pan. 5 colorful pan. Have you ever bought a pan simply because it looked beautiful? That's how most of these stories begin, not in a kitchen, but on a screen. A pastel skillet slides across your feed, gold handle gleaming under soft light eggs, gliding as if the pan itself were effortless. The caption reads, non-toxic and aesthetic. It's not cookware anymore, it's aspiration, and that's exactly the design. Influencer-branded lines have transformed kitchen tools into visual merchandise. Their appeal is emotional first, practical second. But under the soft palette and polished packaging lies a fragile construction. According to independent consumer testing groups, many of these designer pans rely on ultra-thin single-coat systems, often 1/3 the thickness of professional-grade cookware. That shortcut preserves color vibrancy, but drastically reduces coating integrity under heat. Meanwhile, reality in the kitchen looks less glamorous. Within months, color fades, coatings dull, and rivets begin to loosen under repeated heating and cooling cycles. The same thin film that makes the surface camera-ready cannot withstand the friction of utensils or the expansion of metal under high temperatures. Laboratory tests from product safety institutes show visible warping in as little as 6 weeks of medium heat use. In reality, these pans aren't failing by accident, they're engineered for ephemerality. Manufacturers use generic molds from shared factories, change the pigment, and sell exclusivity through limited runs. It's a model of short life and fast profit. By combining low-cost substrates with trendy branding, companies cut production expenses by up to 40% while doubling retail prices. Even then, the system runs deeper. Industry analysts describe this trend as aesthetic churn, constant product rotation to maintain engagement. Each influencer drop sparks new affiliate campaigns, short-form reviews, and matching kitchen sets. The social media cycle moves faster than wear and tear. By the time coatings degrade, the market has already shifted to the next colorway. Complaints vanish in the noise of novelty. Therefore, what you see online is not deception. It's design psychology. Experts in consumer behavior note that buyers now respond less to material quality and more to visual coherence, the idea that your kitchen should match your personality. A pan becomes part of an identity system, soft tones signal mindfulness, matte finishes imply sustainability, gold handles suggest taste. But beauty is a weak substitute for build. Ultimately, the influencer cookware wave reflects a broader pattern. We've replaced longevity with likeness. The cycle is efficient precisely because it sells reassurance, not reliability. Each new product promises to fix what the last one failed to deliver, but only long enough to sell the next. And so the kitchen, once a place of craft, becomes another showroom for design trends. Color eclipses construction. Branding overtakes balance. Because sometimes the real heat isn't on the stove, it's on the screen. Choose build, not branding. The meal deserves the spotlight, not the pan. So here we are, 5 pans later, 5 lessons heavier. The truth is, not every shiny surface hides a secret, and not every old-fashioned tool belongs in the past. Somewhere between marketing and memory, a few brands still build with patience, the kind that values safety over speedcraft over color. They don't shout from screens or sparkle on shelves, they simply last. And that's where we're heading next, the good aisle, where honest metal still meets honest heat, and where cooking feels like what it used to be, steady, simple, and quietly trustworthy. 6. Cast iron and carbon steel. It takes longer to heat, heavier to hold, but once it's hot, it never lies. Long before coatings and marketing slogans, there was iron. Plain, dark, solid. It didn't sparkle under store lights or promise advanced technology. It simply worked. Every family had one, a skillet with stories, a pan that had outlived toasters, blenders, and even a few marriages. You didn't buy it because it was healthy or eco-friendly. You used it because it lasted, and because the food simply tasted better. When a cast iron pan heats, it doesn't rush. The metal warms slowly, evenly, and holds that heat like memory. That patience transforms food. The sizzle becomes steady, not sharp. The crust deepens. The flavors marry instead of fight. In practice, the surface changes with every meal. Oil polymerizes into a thin black patina, turning raw metal into a natural living non-stick layer. No chemicals, no coatings, just chemistry and care. Over time, this process becomes more than maintenance. It's ritual. A small brush of oil after washing, a slow dry on the stove. These motions repeated turn into trust. You feel it, that smooth, dark finish that gets better, not worse, with age. It's the opposite of everything modern marketing sells. No quick start, no shiny reboot, no limited edition. Just patience. Moreover, cast iron doesn't need perfection to perform. A little rust can be scrubbed away. A lost shine can be reborn with seasoning. The metal forgives the way few tools do. Carbon steel, its lighter cousin, shares the same soul, less heavy, quicker to heat, perfect for those who like control without compromise. Both build character through use, not display. Experts in food science have long praised these pans for more than nostalgia. Studies show that well-seasoned cast iron can contribute trace amounts of iron to meals, a subtle nutritional bonus for most adults, particularly those prone to low iron levels. For people with conditions like hemochromatosis, doctors may advise caution, but for nearly everyone else, it's an invisible gift flavor with function. And unlike synthetic coatings, there's no risk of fumes, no polymer degradation, no question of what's inside. The ingredients are simple: iron and oil. In a world of trends, that simplicity feels radical. Where most cookware hides its limits behind names and finishes, cast iron invites you to see them. You know when it's too hot, when it's too dry, when it needs rest. It asks for attention and rewards you with permanence. A well-kept skillet can last a century, passed from one kitchen to another, each layer of seasoning a quiet signature of care. Because as chefs often say, you don't own cast iron, you borrow it. Every scratch, every shine, every meal adds to a history that began long before you. It doesn't age out, it simply seasons in. That's the rarest form of sustainability, one built on endurance, not replacement. So in the end, maybe this is what real progress looks like, not constant innovation, but the rediscovery of what already worked. Some tools don't need reinvention, they just need respect. 7. Stainless steel. To start this one, I'll tell you my choice. I've used stainless steel for years through countless meals, mistakes, and small triumphs, and I've never had the slightest intention to change. It isn't fancy, it isn't perfect, but it's honest. And that's exactly what a kitchen and a life should be built on. No coating, no color, no pretense, just metal balanced in its purest form. Stainless steel doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't promise miracles or glow under ads that shout new innovation. It simply does its job, steady, neutral, and precise. It's the kind of reliability you stop noticing because it never lets you down. First, the science. Stainless steel isn't magic, it's meticulous metallurgy. 18% chromium, 10% nickel, that's 1810 stainless. The composition that builds a self-healing oxide layer, making it resistant to rust, acid, and reaction. This microscopic film renews itself after every use, ensuring food stays pure, no matter how acidic or intense. That's why professional kitchens simmer tomato sauces, reduce wines, and sear fish in it without hesitation. The pan doesn't interfere, it amplifies. Next, the craft. Stainless demands patience, not strength. It's a conversation between metal and heat. Wait until it shimmers before cooking, and it rewards you with perfect sears, golden, even crisp. Move too fast, and it reminds you gently that precision matters. When you deglaze, that caramelized fond on the bottom dissolves into sauce, teaching you where flavor truly lives. In a world that sells shortcuts, this pan quietly teaches skill. Because of that, culinary educators still call stainless steel the standard of trust. It's the same material used in hospitals and laboratories, clean, stable, non-reactive. It doesn't flake, doesn't peel, and doesn't age out. What you buy is what you keep, not for a season, but for a lifetime. If handled right, a stainless pan will serve you for decades. There's a learning curve, yes. Too much heat makes it stick, too little makes it stall. But once you learn the rhythm, you can cook anything with calm confidence. It's not a product that flatters you. It's one that shapes you. Customer feedback reflects that same quiet loyalty. Home cooks describe it as the only pan I trust, or the one that still looks new after 10 years. Professionals call it the truth teller, a surface that reveals skill, not marketing. In durability tests, stainless consistently outranks every coated alternative. Ultimately, stainless steel isn't glamorous. It's discipline, patience, and balance forged into metal. You can polish it, scorch it, clean it. It will still come back shining, still ready to work. It's not there to impress, it's there to endure. Because when a pan tells you nothing, it's usually telling the truth. Master the preheat and you'll never need another coating again. Thank you for staying until the end. We've talked about pans, but in truth, this wasn't just about cookware. It's about choices. Every tool you bring into your kitchen becomes part of your home story. What you cook, how you cook, and what ends up in the bodies of the people you love. A frying pan might seem small, but its impact isn't. The surface that meets the heat, the oil, and the food is the front line of your family's health. Choosing wisely isn't about fear, it's about care. You don't need the newest or the most expensive, just something honest. Something built to last, something that won't hide behind color or coating. So when you stand in that aisle again, take your time, touch the metal, read the label, ask yourself not what's trending but what's true. Because safety doesn't come from slogans, it comes from awareness. Cooking has always been more than feeding. It's an act of love, of patience, of protection. And that begins long before the first sizzle. Choose well, cook slowly, and let honesty stay at the heart of your kitchen.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.